This is Comic Geek Speak, episode 60. Welcome to Comic Geek Speak, brought to you in conjunction with worldfamouscomics.com. Your spot on the internet for the best comic book and entertainment-related columns, contests, features, reviews, news, resources, and more. I'm Brian Deemer.
I'm Kevin Moyer.
I'm Jamie D.
I'm Peter Rios.
We are sexy bitches, yeah!
And we're here to provide you with another hour's worth of entertainment.
At least 1 hour.
Well, hour plus.
Yeah.
Episode 60, 5 years from retirement. 5 left, people.
They don't say that, the board will crash. People jump off of buildings.
I wish I was only 5 years away from retiring. My God.
Bullshit. By the time we get retirement age, it's going to be like 70 80 years old.
Yeah, it's very true.
Probably lucky to even have anything as retirement by the time we get to that age.
Yeah.
Hey, quick reminder, you have about a week left to enter our September contest. Take a picture of a comic book related sign, which maybe by the time this airs, we were in Baltimore. We were standing waiting for the train, and we were looking at the list of stops, and one was Lutherville. Lutherville. Yeah. So I took a picture of it with Jamie and I think Matt.
Shane. Shane had the Superman dog tag.
Shane had the Superman dog tag. So
Jamie had the bald head.
That's right. Yes. So we had 2 props. We didn't have a sign saying "Comic Geek Speak," but since it was us,
yeah, but we were wearing
shirts. Oh, that's right.
T-shirts on.
There you go.
So we had it all covered.
Yep. So it's as simple as that. I mean, and what we were driving, we saw Wolverine
Way or something like that.
The Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah.
Raven.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's
not hard to do when
you start to actually open your eyes. These stinking things are everywhere. So anyway, this contest is sponsored by Tomorrow's Publishing. If we think your photo is the best one, then you will receive a subscription to either Back Issue Magazine or Alter Ego Magazine, courtesy of Tomorrow's Publishing. So just go out there. You drive around your neighborhood for an hour, and you'll find like 3 or 4 signs that you didn't even realize were there. So it's not hard. And our September Book of the Month Club selection is Fables Volume 1. If you want to get it, you can do so from InStockTrades.com, where it's specially reduced to 40% off, so it's only $6.
Yep, do it quick.
Yeah.
Because that's coming up real soon.
We'll be recording that next week, right?
I think so, yeah.
Absolutely. So, I guess we'll just go... Peter's nodding his head. I forgot. We're going to officially announce the launch of our new website. ComicGeekSpeak.com, courtesy of one of our listeners, registered the domain name for us.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, David.
Yeah. And the design is thanks to a guy on the board who goes by Melkalorian, and he's doing another website, which is kind of hush-hush for now, but it's very, very exciting. And so we thank those guys for making it possible. And I still have some things to touch up on it. It's not as beautiful as it will be when I've had some more time to work on it, but it's up and it's running. And
we've actually got some comments where people said that it's easy to use and simple and its design and
clean.
Clean. Very gets it
right
where you need
to
go. Just like us.
Very simple and clean.
But
I love it.
Yeah, I think so
it's
too.
Great.
And that's what they said. It was very easy to navigate. They liked the contributors page. They thought that was cool. Mm-hmm. So there was already some good feedback coming back. We only launched it less than a week already. So.
Yeah, and actually, for those people listening, if you're, Melkalorian, we want to add you to the contributors page because you've contributed to the show. And David
Price.
Write up a little bio for us. We're not excluding anyone here. We've made this show all about the listeners, so we want to continue to do so. And if we've missed somebody who has contributed in, Mike Parkinson is on that list because he does the frickin' Surya strip all the time. And,
right.
We want to add anyone else who has participated. Please send a little bio so we can add it to that page.
I guess the only thing that's not up is the swag page, right?
That's I have to do that, because I want to take some better pictures of the T-shirt.
Right.
You can still order the T-shirt from the blog. I just haven't moved that information over to the swag page yet.
But
I was wondering what the hell we were putting on there. I was like, swag, and I'm clicking on nothing there. Come on, what the hell?
So
I don't go to all the meetings.
The CGS thongs will be on there.
Well, I'm sporting them right now. So
we're taking a bunch of those down for the goddess next time at Baltimore.
Well, we actually have some things that we're trying to figure out about that we're experimenting on the T-shirt. So I mean, one of the reasons to hold off is because we may have some cool things up there in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Cool.
All right. Well, we'll move right into a listener email. Here's one from Dennis Pooh. He says, I just heard your latest podcast regarding the future of comics. I remember getting out of comics in the 90s and saw you had a podcast on the comics industry decline from that time. I haven't gotten to it yet. Anyway, I got back into comics just recently because I invested in Marvel stock due to a 401k rollover. The most exciting thing about getting back into comics was the original art. I didn't even know you could buy this stuff until early this year. What puzzles me is that there are so many comic-related products out there, ranging from toys, statues, variant comic books, DVDs, video games, lithographs, clothes, movies, TV shows, etc., all with more variety than I can recall, but almost no one focuses on original art. That seems totally bizarre to me. Original art is the ultimate comic collectible, and it seems completely missing from the comic-minded collective for some reason. Every page of original art has more work time invested in it than any signed comic or sketchograph. Every page of original art is more scarce than any variant cover. Any page can be seen in totality, unlike any slabbed rare comic that cannot be thumbed through. I could go on and on. I'm just wondering if price, availability, lack of interest, or whatever makes it so that most well-stocked comic stores will carry everything comic-related except for even one page of original art. Take a look at www.comicartfans.com for a small but rabid community of original art collectors. It's about collecting and about drawing original stuff for fun. It's about finding new artists and encouraging up-and-comers. Mostly, it's about sharing artwork and getting a piece that is unbelievably special to you. You can commission a sketch for $20, or you can work out a deal for $20,000. It's really fun. I'm just thinking you guys could do a show on it. Well, I think everyone in this room is a pretty big fan of original artwork. I mean, I have 5... The dog. Okay, she left.
She likes original art, too.
Apparently. She wanted to chime in on that. I have 5 original art pages, and I agree, Dennis, that once I discovered original art like you did, I thought, I don't care about expensive back issues. I don't care about any of that other... I mean, I still like some of the toys and things like that, but, I mean, if I had the wall space, I would buy more. I would buy pages like hotcakes, man. I mean, it's...
If you can make it your focus, you can have a blast with it. And that's where I kind of fell off of it. Because I have about 9 or 10 pages of art, and I have a lot of it hung up, but some pieces I don't even have framed and even put up, and just because I don't have the space to put it up.
Because it's not, when you're looking at a page and you're standing there and you're at a show and they have a whole bunch of pages and you're like, oh, this one's 100, this one's 125. That sounds like a lot of money. But if you go to a show, I mean, some of these artists want $50, $70, $80 for a sketch that they're doing in 20 minutes, or even if they take 45 minutes. I bought a John Romita Jr. page for like $70. It had Spider-Man on it, J. Jonah Jameson, and Peter Parker and Mary Jane, all on the same page. You couldn't ask for a more classic Spider-Man page than that. $70.
Right.
And it's got way more time and energy put into it than a $70 show sketch.
And it very rarely would ever not be worth its value. So it's always going to, I shouldn't say always, but I would say 90, 95% of the time it's going to go up in value.
Yeah.
As long as you hold on to it, you know.
Can you explain for me, only because I know so little about original art. I've always had a couple questions that I wanted to know. So we get these people like at conventions that have those big black books that have all the pages in. Okay. What really are there levels of original art? Because I know I've seen different pages where one is just the pencils, and then you see another page where it's pencils and ink. So is that technically the page that the artist drew on, and then the inker did as well? Like, and then you see some other ones with blue line, and then you lettering. See some color ones. So like how? If I see okay, let me ask you this. I'll start here. If I see a page of original art that has pencil, ink, and color, is there a page somewhere else that just has pencil, ink, or just pencil? Or is that the only page?
No,
Should
that's
that
the
only
only
be
page.
the pencil? And
Well,
ink?
no, not really, because they never really used to color on the original
No,
art.
what I was going to say is that usually the pages that are colored are covers or pinups or something. Because like some artists, like Glenn Fabry at San Diego,
Right.
had a bunch of his pages there. You know, some of those Preacher covers and stuff that
Okay.
he's done. And, you know, he fully paints those babies, you know, because he drew them,
Right.
he inks them or whatever, and then he paints them however he does it. He does the whole thing, and then he's got a piece of paper with paint on it, and he hands that to the company, and they make the cover out of it, and he gets that page back. But an actual comic interior
say, maybe I
page,
shouldn't
have
have done the
never,
color.
I have
Yeah.
never seen a color one.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was, let's get away from the let me say like a pencil page versus an inked page versus a page that has lettering on it, because sometimes that doesn't
Okay,
involve
well,
color.
all of my pages have pencils, ink, and lettering.
Okay.
Okay. Before a couple of years ago, if you saw a page that was just penciled, it probably wasn't from a published comic,
Right.
Because
it wasn't
because
completed.
someone has to ink it before it becomes now with some of the colorists coloring right on pencils. Now it is possible to have a pencil page that doesn't have inks.
Okay.
But 95% of the time, if you see a pencil page in a portfolio, that was never published in a comic.
Plus-
At least that one. They might have redrawn almost the exact same thing and just changed some of it or whatever,
Right.
but
That's
that
happened already,
page
too.
was not published.
Plus, with the lettering, too, nowadays that's changed as well, because I know I've spoken to some artists, and they'll draw and ink the page and then scan it and digitally send a file in for being published. So it doesn't have to have the paste-up work that was done on the older pages where they had to
Right.
put the word to balloons and the expressions and
Right.
sound effects and all that, zip tone and all those things. So
it's safe to assume that anybody who has one of those black books, those pages are real. It's not like
those,
yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
Because I just never really knew that. Because
And you can see it too. I mean, you can see a reproduction piece compared to an original piece, because all you have to do is just pull it out and really take a close look at it, and you'll see that the inks are not completely 100% solid black, and you'll see whiteout used on, because they'll correct mistakes and do things like that, and that's usually telltale signs. You can see the pencils in the background sometimes, or like you said, the blue line, which is
Right.
some artists do that. They don't use regular pencil; they use the blue line and then ink right over top of it. So you'll see those things. Those are things to look for if you're not sure that you feel it's a authentic page.
Yeah, that's always been a question I've had too, because I swear I've seen the same page that 2 or 3 different people have this. They're selling it, as an original page. I, for one, have never gotten into it. I have an original page, but it was given to me by a letterer, and I don't even know if it was actually, because I did him a favor and he gave me a piece of artwork. I'll tell Ken Bruznak. And he gave me a piece from Azrael that he had been inking on, and I actually don't even know if it ever made, but it had like the original pencils, and he did stuff on it. But I've seen, I swear I've seen the cover to All-Star Squadron #1. And anybody who's seen that knows it's like a piece of it's Hawkman standing around a table, and they're looking to who's the new recruits for All-Star Squadron. I swear I've seen that at a couple different places, a couple different shows, and I always question myself, well, wait a second, what is the, if they're all these, how many pieces are actually out there? And it's all, the price has also been another reason I've kind of stayed away. It's just, I can't see myself spending, and I don't have a lot of high price back issues either. So that's why I'm saying I'm buying those instead of original artwork. But something inside of me, if I spend that much money on, I better be able to frickin' live in it or drive it. Those are the two things I look at.
Now,
so.
with the exception of my group page, the other 4 pages were, I think the maximum I spent was $100.
Mm-hmm.
Which, I mean, again, I don't have any expensive back issues or anything like that. I've limited myself to. I try to. My target is always $100. Maybe I'd go 125. It was kick ass and had a character in a costume and a fight scene or something like that. But when I'm looking, and I flip through a lot of books and go, that's gorgeous. It's 300 next. That's gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
It's 225 next. Even 175. Going, look at that. Not gonna buy it. And I just kept looking until I found. Oh my!
She disagrees with you. That's
yeah.
She don't like that page.
I just keep looking until close that door. I just keep looking until I find one that is in the price range, and some of them are not as dynamic or as amazing as I would have liked to have by that artist.
Does she have to go out, maybe?
No, they never.
somebody's just
They think either somebody's here, but somebody's. I better check the door.
Okay. Well,
one thing I can say is, like, for what you were talking about, Jamie, what I can add to that is buyer beware. A lot of times now, people, instead of getting commissions done, they are commissioning artists to do reproductions of covers.
Yeah, that I know, because I know Dan Atkins has done a couple of those.
Yeah, so that's something to watch out for. So if you're looking at a cover and you feel that you've seen it before or something like that, check into it, because that is prevalent a lot now. People are having artists, either the same artist that did the cover or somebody else, draw that same cover as a piece of original art.
because I wonder if, because that's an older page, was there ever a time that they took original artwork, scanned it, and then inked over that, or is that defeating the whole line? Okay.
No, it was hard because back in the old days with the printing processes and such, making the photostat copies for the ink presses, pencils wouldn't show up on on scan very well, so it had to be inked. They didn't have an option, whereas now having the digital scanners, you can scan a penciled page and then work off of that.
Yeah. And I know certain artists have like their own dealers that they are, that actually.
Yeah.
If you do a search on the web and you find dealers that have some exclusive artists, that the only way you'll get the artist through that dealer.
Yeah, Alex Ross just does it through his own thing, and I know. Reading CBG as long as I have, John Byrne has his own guy that sells all his original stuff.
There's two dealers. Albert Moy is one of them, and
I bought from him.
Yeah, and there's another one. The name just slips my mind at the moment, but they handle a lot of big name artists. And
the other way to make sure you're getting the real deal is when you're at a convention, you buy a page directly from the guy who drew it.
Well, yeah,
that's that's the key. Like that's why I got my Sergio page, and Mark Brooks had a whole book full of pages. And
usually at the bigger shows they'll have the artists will bring their own stuff and sell it. I know Shane bought a Val Semekis, I guess.
Semekis.
However you pronounce his name. I'm sorry I butchered it.
But
he did a JLA page, and I know he bought it directly from him. So it was. Yeah, you're right. Definitely.
Yeah, just check it out. I mean, and the prices do vary. I mean, you can.
I'm not against it.
I think it's.
If I got
great.
the money, I would
that's just
definitely.
It. Yeah,
because I saw some of Val Semix's, or from DC 1 Million, and I was just like, oh man, I would love to own some of that, and.
Yeah, and there's some burn pieces I would love to pick up too.
Yeah, I mean it's the root of the whole thing,
right?
There wouldn't be comics if there weren't original comic art pages, right? So that's the real thing, and it is truly one of a kind,
and it is the ultimate collectible because there is only one.
Exactly.
There's only one page of that comic of that original art ever around. So I mean, if you have it, nobody else.
And even if the same artist who did that page redid it as a commission sketch, it still wouldn't be the piece of art that was used to print the comic,
right?
So even if you held it up to the light and it looked stroke for stroke exactly the same, it still wouldn't be the one that was the comic. So it is one of a kind.
Kevin, you own some Moon Knight stuff, right?
Yeah, I own 7 pages of Bill Sienkiewicz Moon Knight stuff. And I bought that at one time, and that really worked in my favor. I bought it back in the late 80s when Mitch Ickowitz, who has Graphic Collectibles, he does a lot of original art sales. And he had... Again, if I had the money then, I'd have wallpaper because, I mean, at that time, I was fortunate to get his catalog because, again, there was no internet,
Right.
So I got his catalog through the mail, and I used to get it every month just to keep checking up on stuff, and he got a deal with Bill Sienkiewicz, and, hell, I could have bought a whole issue of art. I could have bought, like, issue number 1 and bought the whole damn issue full of all 22 pages, which I would have loved to do. But I mean, at that time that was like $1,000 to $2,000 at least. The pages I bought, I have 4 issues from issue 1, 4 pages from issue 1. One of them's a splash page. I have a double page. It's not a spread, but it's a 2-page panel piece from issue 23, and then I have a pin-up piece that he did that was supposed to be used for a cover and was never used, and they used it for a T-shirt image. But all those pieces at the time was a total of $800 for those 7 pages, which was a freaking steal,
especially not for a splash page.
Right, and 2 of them actually. And what I did was I had a Dale Keown Hulk splash page from, I guess it was issue 385, I think it was, when he was fighting Sabra. And I bought that for like $175, and I sold it to him for like $350. So then I only had to shell out of my pocket, $450. And I know now, just seeing every once in a while, seeing some Moon Knight pages go off since on eBay, they're selling for $200 to $300 minimum.
Well, yeah, I mean, and
Yeah,
St.
the older
Kevich hardly
stuff.
draws anymore, so
Right.
You're really.
But I have some. I have a Bob Layton Iron Man page. I have some Paul Pelletier. I have 3 pages of his stuff from his independent stuff, like X Mutants and things he got in before he was into mainstream. So I have quite a few, and those pages I bought from him for like $15, $20. So I mean, I could probably sell those now and turn around and easily make over $100 on those things. So they never go down. It's the ultimate collectible because it never go down.
Yeah, unless maybe an artist who was hot for a while and then just like maybe a
Right.
Stephen Platt Moon Knight page. It used to be $150, maybe now it's $25.
Yeah, well, only so you can draw on the back of it. And that's the only reason I get it.
Or color it in yourself with crayon.
Yeah, but
that's no. I to me, this is a collectible as opposed to what we were talking about with the slabbed and
Podcasting?
all that
What?
kind of stuff. No, this
We're collectible. Brian Deemer, one of a kind.
Somebody
want to
buy me
for only
for
$1.5 million. That's right, $1.5 million.
I have right of first refusal, but anybody wants to buy me, that's fine too. But no, I'm talking about this as a collectible, as opposed to what I think about the slabbing and making those one of a kind type deals and making those
Absolutely
9.9 and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
This is stuff that is a collectible, and I'll go on. Hey, people want to write me email? It's Jamie D at Comic Geek Speak. I can take it. Come on, bring it on.
You don't have that email address.
I don't know what it is. I'm just bullshitting.
Set that up.
I'm still damn tired, so that's all right.
But no, I agree with you. I would sooner have that than I would much rather have a page of original art than go pay the money to have a slab book. I don't think that's a comparison for myself, and that's my opinion. But
and just holding the value. That's the whole thing. Something like this is, you're right. It's just gonna hold the value because the farther you get down the road, I mean, these your Moon Knight pages are from the '80s. I mean, that's 25 years ago.
Right.
And in another, it'll be 35 years ago. And people, I can't remember what I was watching. I was watching something where they were talking about people who are so into this that they are, they whip out the book and they have an entire comic book, and they're, of the original art. I'm just like, Jesus.
That's what I wanted to do.
Think of tracking all that stuff down.
I was really pondering how I could work it out to buy a whole issue's worth because my goal was to frame it all and then put it all around the top of a room.
Right,
so as you look at the top of the room, you could go around the whole room and just read the whole issue and go around. And I thought that would be so freaking cool.
And that's another thing. I mean, if you get lucky and you're at a show and you pick out a page, it's a real nice page, you like it, and then I'm sure there are websites with people posting what pages they're looking for, and you're going to find that guy who's dying for page number 17 from that comic that you just happened to buy because the price was right, and now he'll pay 4 times as much, and then you can go buy you can buy 3 more pages with what you paid for that one, and hey, the pages I have, I love them, but I'm not necessarily married to them. If someone's going to give me the right price, I'll go, like I said, buy 2 or 3 pages with the money I paid for that one or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I was hesitant to get rid of that Hulk page, but
you were getting Moon Knight.
But I was getting my Moon Knight stuff, so it was the decision, and I figured, well, I can get 7 Bill Sienkiewicz Moon Knight pages or keep 1 Dale Keown Hulk page. So I was like, I hate to get rid of it, but I'm going to let it go because I just didn't have, if I would have had $800 just to shell out, it would have been a no-brainer. I wouldn't have gotten rid of it, but and that just goes to show I don't think I had that Hulk page for more than. It had to be less than 2 years, and I easily doubled my money on it. So,
plus, it's almost like the old time when you would invest in an artist, like you said with your Paul Peltier's stuff, where you bought it for like $15-$20. Now, he's a big name now,
right.
And I'm sure, like you said, you could turn around, and I think that's a lot of the fun too. Going in for the chase, you come in, you go, hey, this guy's pretty good. Maybe I ought to invest in a page or 2 of his, just see what happens. For $20, I'd invest in something like that, put it away, and you never know. So it's also that's fun too.
That was my motivation. I didn't buy it because I thought of it as an investment. I bought it because I hung out with him at a show, and that was in '93, and he was just starting to get some, one of the big 2 professional work. He was still doing the independents, but he just started. I think he did an issue of Hulk he filled in for, and was starting to do some stuff at DC, but he still wasn't well known. And I always liked his stuff, and I went and talked to him. Nobody was talking to him at a show. I went and talked to him, hung out with him. We went to lunch, and it was like I almost spent the whole day with the guy. We ended up getting up from his table and walking over to some of his other artist friends, and I hung out with them, and it was just cool. And I thought, I really love his art, and he was such a cool guy. And I thought, before I leave, I'm going to buy some pages, and I picked out, I think, 3 or 4 pages, and for $15 a piece and whatever, and he signed them all, and. I think he even wrote his address on. I have his address and stuff on the back about if I wanted to contact, because I was interested in seeing his Hulk pages because he told me She-Hulk was going to be in it too. So I thought, well, they weren't out yet, so I couldn't look at them. So he gave me his address and stuff to contact him if I wanted to get any of those pages from him. So cool.
And the other thing, sometimes there's certainly a place for buying original sketches from artists at shows and stuff. Like we're looking at Heroes Con next year, and I was looking at the list, and Art Adams is on that list. Huh. And you can't buy an original Art Adams page for anywhere less than $200. I mean, unless it was maybe old people riding the subway, or something, and it has no character in it from any series, anything. So I'm thinking if Art Adams is charging $50 for a sketch, I'm getting Art Adams sketch. Right. Already I just said that's my goal for Heroes Con. I don't care anything else can happen. I don't have to buy another single thing. I'm saving up money and I'm getting Art Adams sketch. And then once I sign that list, I can relax for the rest of the show. Because some of these people like Art Adams hardly draws anything.
That's right.
Hardly shows up at anywhere.
He's one of the best artists, I think. And you could practically name on 2 hands all the comics he's ever drawn. It's kind of crazy. So that makes his pages so much more expensive. So I know I'm never going to own one of those, but I can get a sketch from him. So
and there are some artists who don't sell their pages.
That's true.
They hold on to them, either for retirement purposes or something like that. Sure. So there is some artists you might not be able to get a page from them.
Well, I had a hell of a time. I have searched the internet numerous times looking for a group page. Never saw a single one. Checked eBay repeatedly. I thought, well, nothing this week, maybe next week. Nothing. So when I got to the show and I talked to Sergio and he had pages for sale, I was like, well, you got to be kidding. I said, I've never found your page. He's like, well, I take them to shows and I sell them and I work with this one guy, I sell him some pages sometimes. It's like, man, and this guy he's one of the fastest artists around and has lots and lots of work available. But you can't find his stuff on the internet.
That's because he controls it. That's the
right.
whole thing.
Well, that's what I mean. It's a little dribs and drabs, and then fans buy it, and then I'm never putting that group page on eBay. You freaking kidding me?
Well, that group of fans, the GRU, the one that had like the official fan club. I mean, I'm sure a bunch of those guys have the stuff. Do you think they're going to get rid of it?
Yeah, no way. Right.
And if you're poor like me and you don't want to dabble into original art, one of the fun things I used to do years back, when Golden Eagle, our comic store here in Reading, used to have a second store over in Wyomissing, I used to go to was it a Kink? No, it wasn't a Kink. It was like a Copy World or something like that.
Yeah, it was like a mailroom.
I used to go and take the covers and blow them up and scan them, and they come out in these awesome. I don't know, even remember what the size.
They were 11 by 17.
Yeah, and you get.
I have some too. I have them on my wall, and I put them in frames.
Yeah. I used to hang them up. John, I remember one of the guys on the show, John. He used to like for birthdays or whatever, he'd throw a couple of those in.
Yeah, you could get them laminated too, so they were really nice. And he gave me a couple of those, and I took a couple of my books. I have the Thor, the Beta Ray Bill smashing the Thor thing. That's my favorite cover of all time. Had that blown up, have it hanging on the wall somewhere.
It's amazing how vibrant they come out. And I'm in no way, shape, or form saying that this is what you do and go into a convention and sell it. That's not what I'm saying.
Definitely don't sell it.
It's not to sell. It's only for your own person. If you can't do original art and you want covers and you never thought about it, that's a great way to do it. And you just it looks cool. I used to have like all these Crisis covers that John gave me. I was like, oh, look at that.
Plus, what you can do too is a lot of times. I know some art dealers, you can send them like $5 and they'll send you a full-size copy of it, like on 11 by 17 paper. And then you can look at the page and decide if that's what you want to buy or not. I mean, that's what the intention is. But I mean, if you photocopy that and put it in a frame and it's decoration for you.
Yeah.
It doesn't it doesn't have to be a collectible, but that is an option. And
cheap.
If you can't afford it, it's an option for you to do. But I think I have about 6 or 7 of those covers hanging up in I went to AC Moore when they had a sale and bought some frames for like $10 a piece, and that's my stuff I have in my comic room.
Now, I guess as far as why most comic shops don't carry them is, well, they're expensive.
Well, that's
you have to just because you like that page doesn't mean the next guy does, and doesn't mean that's your favorite artist or your favorite character or whatever. So, there's a lot of artists and a lot of different characters and a whole lot of comic pages, and you got to buy the one that you think someone's going to buy in your store. And so if you have to pay $100 for it, then you got to charge $125, and it might sit there for 6 or 8 months before you sell it. So that $25 profit is hogging up store space for 8 months. It's not worth it. That's why there's just certain dealers and
it's just high overhead and low turnaround.
Right, because they're not like the dealers that you see who just deal in original art, who get it at a different price and then sell it at that price. A dealer would have to buy it from that dealer, so you're already adding overhead and putting a middleman into it. So it's not as efficient and financially, worthwhile for them to even bother to carry on with it. I mean, it's okay. I could see it doing a page here and there or something like that if you know something was going to worthwhile selling. But it's hard. I mean, that's just something that I'm sure a lot of dealers just don't even want to bother with. There's so much going on.
Hey, maybe they just don't order, the extra 100 out of 800 X-Men titles they get that month, and maybe they can funnel it into the original art fund.
Yeah, it's still. I mean, I know you're just you're just playing devil's advocate.
I know. I have no idea.
But to be honest with you, I mean, I've been on that side of the retailers, and it's just a matter of
more work than
your
it's
niche.
worth.
Yeah, and it's your niche too. If you become a comic book store that deals in artwork, then you're going to get to the reputation. People will come for it. It's not one of those things that the guy's going to walk in off the street, with an extra $300 in his pocket and go, oh, hey, I like that original page. It's just a matter of overhead, turnaround. With eBay and the internet, it's probably made it easier for more dealers to do it because they can get the fact that they have it out there, more shops to try it. But still, your average comic shop just isn't going to have that kind of capital, overhead, and really space to do it.
Yeah, because you got to have it on display,
Mm-hmm.
and they're delicate, so you can't just have people thumbing through them in the back. You have to be watching them while they're doing it to make sure they're not ruining stuff, and then that means you're not watching the other guys who's stealing your baseball cards while you're, so it's really, it's not very practical for a comic store. And, really, it's cheaper to buy them online because, like you said, they cut out the middleman, so you just go right to the dealer, get it, and done.
Right.
Well, that was a great email. Half an hour later.
So we were wondering what we were going to do. Well, we'll read an email, and that'll...
We have another one from Matt Raub, or maybe not, because the email's from Matt Raub, but the guy signs his name Eddie. So it's from Eddie. Eddie Matt Raub.
Hey. Hopefully he's not schizophrenic. I'm just worried.
Says, hey guys, long-time listener, first-time writer. I have really been into the rejuvenation of some of the old first comic stuff, Grimjack, Sable, for example. Have you guys looked at these at all? If so, what do you think? I'm curious to hear what other people think of these books and characters.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love John Sable. That was and American Flag. Those were one of my favorite independent books from the 80s. And I looked at the new John Sable stuff coming out from, is that IDW?
Yeah.
And it's beautiful. I mean, it's beautiful when it comes out.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
It's worth. I mean, the only thing I'm at that thing because it is really nice, but the cover price are $4 books. So I mean, that's are you willing to spend $4 for a book if you think it's that nice? Do it. I'm holding off and waiting to see what the trades are.
They do well, and
they do look nice.
They've been recollecting the old,
right?
The original stuff.
Yeah, they have the
2
old
trades
Grimjack
out now of John Sable for they're $25 nice, and they're like. The color's been redone. I think it's gorgeous inside.
Yeah,
yeah. I've picked up just about all of them. The John Sable's been coming out, sporadically, but if you follow Mike Grell, that's usually par for the course.
Right.
But the Grimjack stuff I hadn't really read Grimjack that much, but I'm a huge Tim Truman fan, and I like it. I mean, John Ostrander is a great writer too, and I really, really enjoyed. It was worth the $3.99 to get it. Now, granted, we go through DCBS, so we get it at a 35% discount, but it was still, to me, it was worth it. And I haven't read the old Earthquake. I hadn't read the old stuff, so getting the trades has been a lot of fun too. And I haven't got a chance to really sit down and read them, but definitely. And I was talking to Howard Chaykin at the show. And I asked him about the American Flag because I really hadn't seen anything coming out there. And he said that it's going to be a little while yet because he tried to tell him at when they were going to do the collected editions, going off the old pages, the old plastic panels and whatever they do to do the printing, that they were going to have trouble, and he said they have run into trouble. So he's one of those. I told him so, and I can't remember who it was, but he's pointing him out at the show. He said, "Go tell him. I told him that it wasn't going to work. So you go tell him that I was right."
I think Dynamic Forces is putting that out. So.
I was going to order that absolute or whatever the ultimate collection, whatever it was, and I'm glad I didn't.
Oh, I definitely order it. I mean, when it comes out, when they finally get it.
But that was solicited
that was a long time ago,
November,
half a year ago.
I think it was like November, December.
Yeah, it's almost a year.
So, but when that stuff, I agree. When that stuff comes out, I'm glad to see it. I hope they do more of it. I'd like to see a few more. I'd like to see them
do Nexus.
They are. That's Dark Horse is doing that.
Dark Horse is doing that now. Yep. Good. I'm glad to hear that.
Dark Horse is doing Nexus. I'd love to see them reprint Scout, and maybe hopefully if Tim has a few more stories that he maybe do Scout. I think it's all because IDW picked up Bo Smith. No, they had
Bo Smith.
Bo Smith is working, who was a big guy behind the scenes at first and all that. And that was, I saw he was, as part of their higher ups, their, like the publisher and all that kind of stuff. And as soon as I saw that, it made sense why they were suddenly going back and picking up the old first comic stuff.
Yeah.
Were we watching Tim Truman actually do a Scout page when we?
Yes.
Well, he was a sketch for.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
A sketch. Yeah. That was Scout, right?
That was Scout.
That character. That was gorgeous.
And speaking of, and when we were standing there, he had pages from the Conan book that he's working on.
Oh my God!
Really?
Yeah.
He's working on Conan?
He's doing a miniseries or something for Conan.
Yeah.
For Dark Horse.
Yeah.
Cool.
The finest Tim Truman. I mean, you take the best you've ever seen Tim Truman, multiply it by 10. It was stunning.
And that's saying something.
And he said, yeah, I really have been enjoying Conan. I've loved Conan for years, and I've just been playing with it and having a great time. And
it shows.
Oh my God, I was just like ready to grab that book and run, because it was so nice.
Yeah, he had the pages from I think at least one issue, if not two or so, and it's
it was
beautiful.
So crisp
it is beautiful.
and just.
Did he give you any idea when that was coming out?
He said when they're all finished. I guess we're finished with all 5 of them. I think it's 5 issues. I thought he said
5.
Who's writing it? Did he say?
Stop it.
I can't remember.
He did mention Busiek. Like I think he also said he was going to do a fill-in for the main series.
I think so.
He did mention Busiek, but that's not who's writing.
That's not who's writing it. I forget.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
But
I never got a chance to stop.
But keep your eye out because it is beautiful. The artwork looks absolutely gorgeous.
Yep.
And it's not even colored. We didn't even get to see it colored.
No, I know.
Just in black and white, it was absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah,
so
just make it book black and white, man. It was
I'm
so
happy
nice.
for him. I'm glad that he's gotten, he's doing. And plus, he said this is like a dream project for him. He loved Kogan and always wanted to work on it. So now he's getting the chance to do something, and it's good to see him around and having his stuff published again.
Yep.
Because the last work I bought from him was some of the Jonah Hex stuff, like Riders of the Worm and such. That was a long time ago.
He did Hawkworld. Didn't he do Hawkworld?
Yeah,
but it's he just does sporadic things here and there.
Yeah, he was doing
it wasn't like he was on a lot of stuff.
He was doing a thing with Joe R. Lansdale with, I can't remember the name of it, but it was this is a horror story, mutant Earth horror story, and it was the artwork was really good. The story was kind of but that's the only thing I've really seen him do much do since the Jonah Hex.
Cool.
All right. Oh, I should pull up another email. I shouldn't be staring at you guys.
That quiz was so pretty.
We're waiting for you.
Which is so pretty.
I know I am.
Here's one from Andrew in Peoria, Arizona. Hey guys, love the podcast. I've been listening since iTunes 4.9. Have been addicted ever since. Just found your podcast a week ago. For some reason, it took me a while to think to look up for a comics podcast, and I've been catching up ever since. I'm 27 years old and been reading comics since that great comics year of 1992.
The golden time.
Oh. I know that you guys trashed the death of Superman, but I have to give it credit because this is what got me into the comic store.
Oh, hey.
Yeah, it's true. It got a couple million people into the comic store.
Right.
And I wouldn't trash it. I mean, I enjoyed it when it came out.
No, I mean,
the best part of the series for me was The Funeral for a Friend. That's what I really wanted. I wanted that storyline to see all the heroes and their reactions and things like that. So I I clamored after those issues.
And to me, whatever brings people in, as long as he found some good stuff after that.
Yeah. He says, I still love Superman, but quickly moved on to Valiant. I may try a Valiant Stump the Rio soon.
Quick, who's got Valiant? I got a quick read.
I
those.
sold them all in eBay.
Oh, damn you.
I have some. I have my Solars and my Magnus and
Could have
my
gotten all the trades at this show for like $3.
Yeah.
Dr. Mirage. I can give you all those. You can read them.
It was a refreshing change of pace to see good, clean art and a great story. They lost steam rather quickly, though. I think they tried to put too many books out, and they all ended up being pretty bad. Dr. Mirage and Hardcore. I liked Hardcore in the beginning. I had to take a break from comics from 96 to 2002.
Wasn't Hardcore...
It was Hardcore as in CORPS.
Oh, okay, because they also have a Hardcore in the Ultra universe, right?
That's Hardcase.
Hardcase,
Yeah.
okay. So I was like...
I think DC had a Hardcore, but it was like Hard CORE. So there was a Hardcore out there, but it was a CORPS.
Jeez, I saw those variations.
He says he has a tip for comic lovers on a tight budget. A lot of libraries have started carrying trades. Yeah, we got another email from somebody one time saying that. So I haven't gone to my library to check.
No, I haven't either.
Now, the Reading Library had been doing it, and I said this before when you did this, but I believe they're doing it in their bookmobile more than they were doing it in the actual library itself, because they bought them from Golden Eagle while I was working there. So, yeah, I know the Reading Library around here did have some.
Well, I'll throw out a quick plug for I Read Comics, Lena Taylor's podcast. Her newest one, episode 10, she talks about Watchmen, and she got that from the local library. Cool. And she gives a pretty cool review about it, too, reading it after the fact, as someone who hasn't read it originally. So ever since that email that the guy sent us, and between hearing her, I'm like, I got to get to the library. I got to see what's out there.
So, I mean, I haven't listened to it yet, and I will listen to it. But are you saying she just read?
She just read it
for
the first time. Yep, and she loved it. So, and she has some pretty cool insights.
Good. I definitely want to listen to that.
Yeah.
He says in episode 28 we talked about the crappy gimmick covers. He says he has one that really took the cake. It was a Superman Man of Steel issue with Lobo in it. He can't remember the number. The cover was just a Metropolis cityscape, and it came with cut-out Lobo and Superman figures and other accessories in clear plastic film. The plastic would stick to the cover so you could create your own Lobo Superman fight on the cover and then change it any way you want. What crap! Do you remember that?
I definitely remember that.
I wasn't buying...
I didn't buy it, but I definitely remembered it.
So
I've never been a Lobo fan, so I never.
Color Form Comics. That's what you got to load.
Yeah, Color Form. Could you change the outfits on him?
I don't know that. You couldn't dress like Superman up in like the Supergirl outfit.
Wait till you get those like oven baked stickery
shrinky
dinks.
Your whole comic shrinks up to a little plastic nugget.
I cooked my shrinky dink too long.
Can he handle it today, Peter? Do you think?
Yeah, I snapped the other day.
Yeah, you think? Sunday night was getting awful scary.
Oh, by the way, I know what I'm getting you for your birthday, so that's all I have to tell you.
Oh, no. Okay.
Gee, you're looking forward to it now, aren't you?
I'm going to make you read it, too.
Something to read during the cold winter months.
This one's from Gene Snapper K. He's on our forum.
I think is he from Australia? Does he say? I think because there's a Gene from Australia that was one of our listeners that bought a whole bunch of
Snapper Gene.
Snapper Gene. I remember him. I don't know where he's from, but I remember seeing him posting.
Yeah, because he bought a whole bunch of auctions from me.
Interacting with him on the board.
All right, so starting with an easy one. If you take all 26 issues of Atari Force, how many times exactly does Hookah appear on the odd-numbered pages? Just kidding. He says.
I was going to say, first of all, there's only 20 Atari Force issues. So, bastard.
All right, question number 1, Marvel. What is the name of the manned solar observatory station orbiting Mercury? He's shaking his head like he's familiar with it. So
yeah, it was in Quasar a lot.
Yeah,
the guy who runs one of the guy who runs it. I think his name is Peter. Damn it. I'm gonna say Starcore.
that is correct.
Ooh, good job.
Starcore, Quasar, issue 32, Operation Storm, part 3. Okay, DC. What phobia does Sky Pirate suffer from?
Sky Pirate. Who the bleepity bleep is that? Sky Pirate. Afraid of heights.
Terraphobia, a fear of low places. All-Star Squadron issue 3 in the villain profiles at the back.
Uh-huh.
Haven't read that.
Uh-oh.
There you go. So it's the opposite of heights.
Right.
DC, what famous literary character appears in the old 70s Denny O'Neil Joker comic?
Oh, that's easy.
I figured you probably
Sherlock Holmes.
Yep.
That's correct.
I think it's Joker Comics number 4.
All right, he has a bonus super hard question. Jonah Hex is cursed by an Apache chief with the mark of the devil. What does the mark actually mean?
Wow. White man's devil. I don't know. White man's the
It says,
devil. I have no idea.
because Jonah saved the chief from a puma attack, but then later killed the chief's son, the mark of the devil warns the world that Jonah is half good and half evil.
Oh. That's kind of interesting.
Yeah, it is. Good question.
Those were all good questions.
I don't know a quarter for bonus questions, right?
No.
No, that's a bonus question.
And you don't get extra credit for them either.
No, okay. 2 out of 3.
Yeah.
Check out the new Jonah Hex series coming out.
In the showcase with
And the
all
showcase,
the old stuff, so maybe that story's in there. Never know.
Could be, Doc.
Sweet me.
Do we want to do a DC CGS countdown to Infinite
go ahead.
Crisis?
Countdown to Crisis.
I thought you were saving them for future episodes.
Very funny.
Blake, y'all.
You son of a bitch.
So we'll go to the 2 that came out in the same year of 1991, and the first one was War of the Gods by George Perez and Cynthia Martin, and it was a Wonder Woman oriented crossover, and basically the villainous and as all these events, as we talk about them, there may be some things that you're not familiar with. However, they're not too earth-shattering, so consider this your spoiler warning. Cersei was behind it. And it kind of what wind up happening is all these pantheons of gods, they started to come into the DC universe. They started to, Firestorm was dealing with like the African gods, and Flash had this issue of Flash with the race between Mercury and Hermes, it's been so a while since I've read it, and it wasn't the greatest event, but it was kind of interesting.
Well, I can remember the big thing I can remember about it is it took so damn long. It was one of those where there were 4 issues of the War of the Gods, and then it crossed over into everything. All the crossovers were out before the War of the Gods books themselves had hit all the shelves, and it totally lost momentum for me. I started reading it, wanted to love it, and wow.
Yeah, it was kind of, the gods were all, out of control, and there was a subplot between, like, the Olympian gods and the Roman gods, and the counterparts between the 2 pantheons, and Wonder Woman had to lead the charge against Cersei, and then later in the miniseries, all these dead heroes started to appear, and they tried to bring back like Son of Vulcan, which is actually a miniseries right now by Scott Beatty. Shazam, Captain Marvel was prominent, but it wasn't anything that really had like lasting effects and the sad thing is Perez has said in interviews, that DC wasn't really actually behind it all that much either, because they felt because it related to Wonder Woman that it wasn't going to sell as well, or which is kind of a shame. So these, they did 3 months of crossovers into random books, and they're not. You don't really need those crossovers to read the story.
You needed the main book. That was the problem. You needed the main book for the crossovers, if you read the crossovers, to really make any sense.
Right. The 4 issues of the main story had 2 different covers. I don't know why they did this. The one cover which I think was even the newsstand cover, not even the direct sales cover, but the newsstand cover, actually had the full Perez artwork, and then the... damn it.
We warned you. We
how
warned you before
I
we
know when
started
we got
this.
to this. See how I just blank out? I zone out. But the direct sales one had the cover, but then had like a border around it,
Yeah,
so you
I remember
lost
that.
a lot of that imagery, and it was just like, what? Shouldn't it be the opposite way? I don't know. And inside they had like these Chris Sprouse? Chris, right? Is that Sprouse?
Yeah.
They had some pinups or in the middle of them,
Oh, okay.
kind of like inserted in of all the different characters that they were spotlighting.
Didn't that, if you open it up, you made it like a bigger picture or something like that? Or was I wrong on that? I don't know. I sort of remembered that, but
Yeah, they were kind of like. Remember when Who's Who went to the loose leaf edition?
Mhm.
They kind of were like pinups like that.
Oh, okay.
Like that, yeah. So, fairly interesting story, but not earth shattering. And if it ties to Infinite Crisis in any way, I would say because Wonder Woman is a very, very strong focus in this new Infinite Crisis
seems to be
miniseries.
seems to be an integral cog.
Yeah, and we just posted on the forum not too long ago the third cover by Perez of that new miniseries, and it's a Wonder Woman-oriented cover. So,
Right.
so that's War of the Gods. It's something that kind of sounded cool and then just kind of went nowhere, which is kind of a shame. But the second one, which was a lot, it just was more interesting, is Armageddon 2001. And it ran through the annuals of DC in also the same time in 1991. And it centered around this character called Wave Rider. And
Back when they did a thing called annuals, kids
Yeah.
who don't know what those are.
Marvel just sold out of all of their Ultimate annuals.
Yeah.
So there's a freaking market for it. I love the annuals. I want them back.
Right.
Well, you know what? It's a market for it when they do good stories
Yep.
in them.
Well,
no, I
Instead
agree
of
with
just
you.
doing the freaking, let's throw some newcomers
14-year-old,
on.
right?
Yeah, it
just
isn't a
throw some
tryout
stories.
issue. I don't
Yeah,
want it to be a
right,
tryout
no.
issue, but there's a market for it when it's done well and there's a purpose to it.
I used to love the annuals. I used to look forward to annuals because you
Same
used to
here.
get all kind of neat stuff. You got a cool story, maybe another story, and then either like pinups and stuff like that. I used to love them.
And even like maybe an old story from that
Right,
related to
reprint.
this story
Right.
somehow, a reprint. I love
Well, yeah,
annuals.
if an artist can't do 2 books a month, I understand. But if they could figure out the annual a whole year in advance, and he just had to draw like 2 extra pages a month, he could probably squeeze that in, and the writer just has to come up with one good story because it's nice to see the main creative team on the book do a special issue.
And it's actually because of events like this. I don't know what was the first event that actually ran through annuals, but for DC it was Armageddon 2001, and for Marvel when they were doing like Atlantis Attacks and
Serpent
the
Crown
Evolutionary
Affair
War,
and
yeah, I
all
mean,
that stuff.
And
that's
they
when
all
it's
sucked.
that's when they started to go.
Yeah, it all started to fall
Right.
apart.
I know it killed them, but still,
Yeah.
I used to love them.
I did. I loved
So
it.
did I. So the premise behind this is someone from the future found out that, and remember this is 1991, that in 2001 a hero would go bad, and he would basically totally kill everybody, and control the world, or at least the United States, whatever. And the hero would turn into this character called Monarch. So somebody found out. You're in the year 2001. Somebody found a way or tried to find a way to go back in time to warn the heroes. Became this character called Wave Rider, who is a creation by, I think it's like Archie Goodwin and Dan Jurgens and somebody else, who could travel time. So he went back in time, tried to warn the heroes, and as he went through these random annuals, he was looking into he was looking into the futures of these heroes to find out which one was the one that was going to go bad.
Yep.
And you got some kind of interesting stories every now and then. I thought there were some, one or two of the Superman one.
Yeah.
They weren't too bad. And
Because he became president of the United States or something.
Yeah,
Superman became president.
usually the Batman ones always ended in his death. The Legion 91 annual, that was totally like just a fun, frolicky book. Trying to think what else. They did Hawk and Dove, they did Hawk World, so on and so forth. Midway through this event, I have one of these checklist cards in front of me. Everybody figured out that the last annual before the second special, this was also a thing DC then did. Whenever they did annuals, they did bookend specials. So right before the second bookend special was Justice League Europe Annual number 2. And everybody figured out, well, the one main character in there that could probably was Captain Atom.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody started to go, oh, well, it's got to be Captain Atom who went bad and became all-powerful and became the villain. So I don't know. This may be an urban legend. I don't know. But, somewhere it became popular to say that what DC then did was yank that, and they instead turned him in the villain into Hawk, of Hawk and Dove, the old Teen Titans West character. So, did they do that just to change because we all figured it out? I don't know. I mean,
that was what I'd always heard that they had figured that everybody had quote unquote figured out that Captain Atom was going to do it, and they just decided to pull the old switcheroo. And it actually made sense for Captain Atom as they were doing the storyline, but they just decided no, they wanted to make it special or make it some kind of impact, so they changed it to Hawk, which just didn't make really any sense when you sat down and read everything. It didn't really make that much sense.
Right. So you got all these annuals, you got this event, and Wave Rider has since been around, and Hawk as Monarch has since been around, who then turned into Extant for a later event, and then was featured very heavily in JSA, the new JSA series.
Yeah. Now, was Wave Rider? He also became you're talking about lasting effects. There's now a whole group of almost like time patrolling policemen going where Wave Rider is one of those
the linear men.
The linear men.
And there's actually his alter ego Matthew Rider, because the other thing that happened is Matthew Rider was the character who eventually becomes Wave Rider. As a kid in 1991, remembers being pulled out of the rubble after a superhero battle, but he never knew which hero it was. So he grows up, 2001, he goes back in time, becomes Wave Rider, and Wave Rider is the one who saves himself. And so what you get then in the Linear Men is there's actually a Matthew Rider as well. It's strange.
Time travel always makes my brain hurt.
Exactly. So these annual
eyes are bleeding right now.
Blood is squirting.
You can find these in dollar boxes and stuff like that as well.
They're worth picking up. They really are.
I like the series.
Yeah, so do I.
The unfortunate thing that happened was they then did two miniseries called Armageddon, What was it? Alien Agenda.
Yep.
Oh, that was horrible.
Crap.
And Armageddon Inferno, which the only reason they did that was to bring back the JSA from the limbo that they had been for years.
That was nice. I will say that. That was a nice thing that they did there. But
and it also has since been that they have now made Captain Atom, an alternate Captain Atom, into Monarch in that Extreme Justice series that was out for a while.
I never read that.
Yeah, and but that's whatever happened to that storyline, I don't know. And the way it ties to Infinite Crisis, in my mind, is I had it figured out, and now I don't remember. Other than just like the whole hero turning against themselves, I mean I don't know. Maybe there is no connection.
It could be a time travel type thing.
Yeah, it could be, and it could maybe Monarch or somebody will show up, and there's certainly an powerful villain, that kind of concept. But so that's our event wrap up for this episode.
Okay, moving on, we have a Geek of the Day from a female listener.
Cool.
She's responding to our discussion prompted by the librarian's question about comics becoming more female-friendly.
Cool.
So let's go right into that.
Hi guys, I'd like to offer a different female comic geek viewpoint and a short bit of advice on how to approach female comic geeks. I am a lifelong female comic geek, a freelance photographer and writer. Think Peter Parker crossed with Clark Kent, only regrettably no superpowers. And a belly dancer. I even do my own online comic at www.gettingby.net. Pardon or feel free to delete out this very shameless self-plug. I've also already married my ideal geek and have my own X-Men class ring, thanks to a friend who worked at Marvel for a while and sent me some great care packages. So, yeah, I am a female comic geek. My grandparents started buying me occasional comic books when I was 5 or 6 at the local 7-Eleven. I knew that if I asked about stuff I didn't understand in them, that would stop. Thinking back, I still don't understand why Wonder Woman was a total helpless git about that Steve guy. My addiction hit full force from 93 to 99, and since then student loan payments and a few other factors have made me really cut back, getting my fix mostly from webcomics, manga, occasional trades, and anime. For me, the joy of superhero titles comes from the escapist fantasy element, the whoa, how cool is that wish fulfillment factor. I love this genre. I don't mind that 90% of the named characters are astonishingly gorgeous. I'd challenge the artists to draw more than one body type of both guys and gals as amazingly beautiful. Wouldn't the ability to tell the difference between silhouettes be nice? But the continual artist title shuffle would screw that up anyways, so I'll leave that plain lie. What really keeps most women away from the superhero titles? The same thing that confused me as a 5-year-old. More than how much body is bared, or clad in skin-tight uniforms, the emotional and or mental wimpitude of these female heroes repels me. I'm not saying that the humanity of these demigods, their weaknesses and insecurities, can't be a draw when handled properly. Think Astro City. That everyman aspect allows us to identify with the hero and thus elate in their triumphs and cool powers. Confusing touching emotional depth and conflict with year after year of angst, or chasing Superman in the case of Lois Lane, without action or emotional progress, that's just whining, and it's not inspirational at all. I don't want to hear real people complain about the same things for years at a time. Even when female characters have become strong, or are strong under certain writers, wading through long, wimpy continuities usually doesn't seem worth the bother. What keeps women away from local comic shops? Being treated like either an evil interloper, or like someone has put a hit on me, social skills practice volunteer, sign on my back. Well, that and the money. Dear God, I'm not willing to buy 5 books a month just to understand what's happening in one title. So keep reviewing new series and trades that don't involve years of backstory, okay? Now, for advice from a female geek on talking to female geeks, and I'll try to be concise. Number 1, use your eyes and your manners. Check for rings on the left hand before the chat up. If she says she's not available, the least attractive thing you can say is, "It's okay, baby. He doesn't need to know." Ah! Why do so many guys say this? I repeat for emphasis, ah! A more appropriate and flattering response is, "Well, he's a lucky guy. Sorry about that." And then, for God's sake, continue the conversation for a few moments before walking away. Being treated like potential date or nothing is dehumanizing. Likewise, the instant exclamation, "You read comics? Marry me!" Is female plus comics my entire sum to you? It's insulting, not to mention a damned awkward conversation killer. Better reaction? You read comics? Cool. What titles? How do these more restrained responses benefit you, the male comic reader? From the most mercenary standpoint, we might introduce you to our available friends if you make a good impression. You might even make a new friend. Just don't ogle the curves. Maintain eye contact. Number 2, ask about potential common interests. Is she wearing logo gear of any kind? Ask, as you would any guy, if she'd recommend the title she's picking up. Can it be picked up at any time, or does it require starting at the beginning? Mention if you've liked the writer or artist's other work. Ask what else they've done, what else she reads, or what music she likes. In other words, just talk geek with girls as you would with guys, except without the, "and she's drawn so hot" comments. Also, avoid the confrontational, "oh, what could she know" attitude. "Hey, did you know that?" questions easily slip into this pitfall. Number 3, be aware that girls have personal security fears, and be considerate. Give her your number instead of asking for hers. Why get shot down as that creepy potential stalker guy if you've made the, interesting list during your conversation? Ask her to call you for coffee chat sometime if she's available. That's my advice. I hope it helps some of you out there, and maybe in a small way, helps make comic shopping a more welcoming experience for my sister geeks out there. Excelsior, guys, and keep up the good work. Chris.
Hold Jamie back. Hold him back. Hold him back.
No, that's nothing wrong. That's great. I loved it, and it made me laugh. So that was great.
Oh, no marriage proposal this
Well,
time.
yeah, I was going to do that, but
She's already married.
I was going to say I can't do that to her. She can
Not
be
because she's already married, because she said don't do the marriage
I was going to
proposal.
say that. So hey, I learned something. All right, I'll still keep doing it, but I won't do it to her. But she's right. I mean, everything she said,
Yeah.
right on the target.
One of the things I never even thought of, she might have a friend, a girl, another, girlfriend that's into comics. You know?
Right.
Sometimes you forget about that. You're
That's
so
true.
blinded by what's right in front of you.
Now, I will admit I never actually said it to a girl face to face.
Right.
But I agree. Just talk to him. Christ, nothing wrong with that.
Bottom
So,
line.
some of the best conversations I've had on comics have been talking about
By
some of the
yourself?
stuff. Well, yeah, by myself. You're right. I've been with the ladies that I know read the books.
Thanks, Chris.
Yeah, thank you
Yes.
very much. That was cool.
And well written, too.
Very well. Very well done.
Very well spoken.
Well, I guess that...
We have
gonna
one
wrap.
more thing to do real quick.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, no, forget it. No. No, forget it. No, I'm sorry.
Now you lost it in the space-time
Yeah.
continuum here. We were saving that for another episode. Wait, what?
Never mind.
No, forget it.
Are you sure?
Yeah,
Yes.
totally.
Okay.
Let's wrap this
Let's
bad
wrap
boy
it up.
All right.
Throw in professionalism right out.
My goodness.
We need a sound effects of a window breaking.
All right. If you want to send us an email, you can send it to comicgeekspeak@gmail.com, and be sure to visit our website at www.comicgeekspeak.com. Big thanks to Bob at GameCircuit.net for hosting the files. Please vote for us at Podcast Alley, and buy a T-shirt or 10 at which you can get on the blog, and they're $10 including shipping. And once again, we are brought to you in conjunction with World Famous Comics. And as always, we are uniting the world's mightiest heroes, one listener at a time. See you next time.